If you've been waiting for a juicy slate of MLB DFS, tonight is your night because we have got star pitchers pretty much across the board. It has the feel of an opening day type slate because there are so many good names available for tonight. It's not just like your typical good names, but like there are some sneaky ones under the radar as well. I think it sets up for a pretty fun night. We're going to break down my top pitcher for tonight, some other guys I think that are in contention for that top spot, a value play I like, and the top stacks to get you set for Friday's action. Welcome on into the solo shot. That's right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network and numberfire.com. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberfire.com, here to break down Friday night's 13-game main slate with lock set for 7:05 p.m. Eastern for tonight. And despite there being 13 games for today, I've got no weather notes. The temperature's higher than they have been previously in a lot of places. There isn't a lot of rain to note either. So fingers crossed, I kind of think we're good to go to set it, forget it, have some fun on your Friday, and hopefully win some cash for tonight. We'll break down my top options on the slate in just a bit. But first, a quick reminder to make sure you are subscribed to the Number Fire Daily Fantasy podcast feed, especially on Fridays, because it's not just the MLB podcast each weekday. We have our UFC podcast every Friday with Austin Swaim. I've got NASCAR as well, breaking down Kansas for this weekend. That should be posted probably closer to around 11 o'clock or so this morning to get you set for all of that. So Fridays are fun here on the Number Fire Daily Fantasy podcast feed, but also we have the PGA Championship next week. Brandon and I are recording the PGA podcast Monday instead of Tuesday to give you more time to fill out your lineups. To get all those right as they are posted, just hit subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts on the Number Fire Daily Fantasy podcast feed. And if you like what you hear, leave us a rating and review as well. Hey, soccer fans, this season, FanDuel and Captain Morgan are teaming up to give you a one-of-a-kind soccer contest to spice up game day. Introducing Captain Morgan Soccer Pick'em, a weekly fantasy contest that is entirely free to play. The contest is simple. All you have to do is answer 10 questions about Captain Morgan and that week's soccer matchup. People with the most correct answers will earn their share of cash prizes. Head over to FanDuel.com/freegames/Captain Morgan and spice up game day with a free shot at cash prizes every Saturday. No purchase necessary. Must be 21 plus to enter. Location restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See terms at FanDuel.com. Pitching preview for this Friday main slate. Despite the fact we got a lot of studs, they don't come with super high salaries because Max Scherzer is the highest salary guy in the slate. He's just 10-7. I think that's very reasonable. Max Fried is 10-3. Clayton Kershaw 10-2. Garrett Cole is $10,000. We have Kevin Gausman at $9,800. Yu Darvish at $94,000. Logan Webb at $9,000. And then Josiah Gray, Sonny Gray, Framber Valdez, and Dane Dunning are the others at $8,000 or higher. And this is a great slate for pitching. I still feel very firm, despite the fact we have a lot of guys here, that Max Scherzer is the top guy for tonight. He just does the best job of checking every single box. The first thing is that Scherzer has the highest strikeout rate on the slate. It's at 34%. Nobody else is above 31.5%. That 31.5% mark is by Kevin Gausman, who is on the road. Scherzer is at home. He's facing the Mariners here, who have hit well so far this year. They have a 109 WRC plus against righties on their current active roster, but they're not a low strikeout team. And some other guys on the slate do run into that issue for tonight. The Mariners, 21% strikeout rate. It's a bit below league average, but it's not bad. It's also the best park for pitching on this slate because it's 66 degrees. That's better than some other spots, and Citi Field in general skews towards pitchers. I've got Scherzer projected for 100 pitches for tonight, which puts his strikeout projection at 8.4, which is a very high number regardless of what that salary may be. Plus, Scherzer's had a tough stretch this year because 3 of his 6 starts have come against the Phillies, which leads to a lot of familiarity, but he's still at double-digit strikeouts twice. So I don't have a lot of reservations with him. I think that he's the top guy for today, and I feel good about putting him there. So Max Scherzer, to me, by himself at the top, and I think you can battle it out for second place, but to me, Scherzer does belong at the top. So the question is, if Scherzer is a no-brainer top option, the battle for second comes down to Garrett Cole, Kevin Gausman, and Clayton Kershaw. So let's touch on all three here quickly. Cole is on the road facing the White Sox. They are a low strikeout team this year, 18% strikeout rate against righties. Cole is on the road. Those are two negatives there. Low strikeout rate matchup on the road. Gausman is also on the road, but he's facing the Rays with a 25% strikeout rate against righties. Gausman is pitching really well right now. As mentioned, a 31% strikeout rate now that he's throwing more sliders. So Gausman gets a high strikeout matchup. Kershaw obviously is throwing well too. 29% strikeout rate across 5 starts with a 2.39 skill interactive ERA, which is among the best marks on this slate. He's also at home facing a Phillies team that has, in a small sample, a 29% strikeout rate against lefties this year. The big issue for Kershaw is pitch count. I've got him projected to 85, whereas I have both Cole and Gausman and Scherzer projected at 100. That's a pretty big gap, which is why I have Gausman projected for more strikeouts than Kershaw. The matchup for Cole means I actually do have a higher projection on Kershaw than him, so I'm going to rank them in order of the strikeout projections, which is Gausman number 2 behind Scherzer. I will go Kershaw 3rd, then Cole 4th. But all 3 to me are in their own tier for tonight. Scherzer 1A, all 3 of those guys fighting for 1B, and then everyone else fighting for the next spots after that. Among the value plays, the one I like the most by a decent margin is Eduardo Rodriguez. I consider Dane Dunning here because Dunning finally getting a more full leash from a pitch count perspective. They're letting him go deeper in games. I've got him for 95 for tonight, which puts his strikeout projection at 5.7. That's pretty good. So I don't mind Dunning. He's 8,000 though, whereas Rodriguez is 72. And he's down there for a reason. He's not pitching great right now, but Rodriguez is at home in a good matchup, which means I'm okay taking a swipe here. I do want to emphasize, though, that things are not great for Rodriguez right now. He has a 6.3% swinging strike rate, so his 23% strikeout rate could come down based on that number. I think part of that, though, is due to the schedule Rodriguez has faced. He's gone up against, in order, the White Sox, Red Sox, Yankees, Twins, Dodgers, and Astros. There is not an easy matchup in any of those, and it's especially true when you're a lefty. Facing the White Sox, facing the Yankees, facing the Astros as a lefty, that's tough. And it actually makes it a bit more impressive that Rodriguez hasn't had the bottom fall out yet. Orioles are a much better spot for him. They have an 84 WRC plus against lefties with a 27% strikeout rate. And they're not generating a lot of power, which could help the issues that Rodriguez has had with batted balls. He's had some issues there which haven't cropped up for him previously. Again, the salary 72, I don't need the salary savings necessarily because the other aces are, I think, lower salary than they should be, but I'm not opposed to it. It would allow me to go nuts at Coors Field with the Rockies. I can stack some other teams I really like. So I'll have a bid Rodriguez in part due to the matchup, in part due to the salary. But I think for me, the majority of the slate will revolve around those ace tier guys for tonight. I want that upside that they bring. And with so many of them here, the odds you need one of them to, really blow the lid off, probably pretty high for today. So with that in mind, let's turn to our stacks. And we do have a Coors Field game for today. I'm not super into the Royals, but I will be into the Rockies. And I think that they are the top option of this slate. They're facing Zach Greinke. And Greinke has a 2.67 ERA this year. Part of that is skill. He's a crafty guy, but there is an element of luck to it too. And that luck could run out at Coors Field. In the past, Greinke has outperformed his peripherals by having very good batted ball data. He doesn't have that as much this year. His hard hit rate is up to 42%. It was 35% last year. The fly ball rate, 41% versus 32% last year. And those are big, big deviations. And it comes with just an 8% strikeout rate and a 2% walk rate. His strikeout prop at FanDuel Sportsbook is 2.5. I believe it's shaded towards the under. That's where we're at right now with Zach Greinke. So what he's doing right now is letting up a ball in play on about 90% of plate appearances. And 42% of those balls in play are being hard hit. That's probably not going to work out at Coors Field. That hasn't been Greinke so far this year, but he's faced some pretty weak offenses. And just that formula is tough in a park this good for offense. So it makes sense to me to be super high on the Rockies here. Greinke, both last year and early this year, has had some pretty extreme reverse platoon splits where he's let up a lot of hard contact to righties versus not as much to lefties, which puts, I think, CJ Cron in a good spot. Same thing for Connor Joe. Randall Grichuk has missed a couple games, but it sounds like it's just a stomach thing, so I bet he's in there. I would actively prioritize the righties over the lefties. I'm fine with Ryan McMahon and Charlie Blackmon, but I would say the righties get a boost here and are slightly the preferred side of the platoon against Greinke. So bump up the righties and be high on them, especially if we get like a lower salary guy like Rogers or anyone else in there. I think that would be advantageous to save some salary and make that stack easier to get to alongside Max Scherzer. Now, yesterday, I was pretty into Dylan Cease against the Yankees, and, the strikeouts were there. The rest was not. Today, though, is very different. The Yankees blew up yesterday. It's not point chasing. I think this is a situation where it does make sense to go at them facing Vince Velasquez. I think the Yankees, very good number 2 stack for today. Velasquez does have some more velocity this year, and his results have been good. He got a 3.97 ERA, but he's still struggling in the same areas that he used to. Specifically, Velasquez is letting up hard contact. He's letting up a 46% hard hit rate this year with a 48% fly ball rate. And those numbers are actually worse than his marks last year. And Velasquez really struggled there last year. Plus, on top of that, his strikeout rate is down. It's 21% versus 24%. It hasn't hurt him thus far. He's allowed just 3 home runs across 5 starts, and just 1 earned run in his past 2 starts. But it's tough to see him skirting his way around danger for too long, especially against an offense like this. They got a 115 WRC plus against righties, low strikeout rates, high walk rates. It's a rough matchup for Velasquez, so I'll be on the Yankees offense for sure for today. Now, within the Yankees stack, it kind of feels like Anthony Rizzo has been a bit underappreciated this year, and I'm basing this mostly on the home run prop market, where his odds tend to be, I would say, longer than they should be, but he's got a 50% fly ball rate against righties, great plate discipline, actually has a couple stolen bases as well. So he's not a value play at 36, but I think he's undersalaried. I think that I want to, like, if I'm deeming or, doling out building block type monikers for these guys, I would say you put Judge, you put Stanton there for sure. I think Rizzo is in there as well, especially because he's a little bit lower salaried than those guys. So I do think, to me, Rizzo at 36, despite being not low salaried, is worthwhile. Stanton's actually 36 as well, Judge 43, but I do think that is a fair number, both for Rizzo and for Stanton for today. The final stack is more of a volatile one, which could bite us, but, kind of fun. That's the Astros. It could be great or it could be terrible. And I think that the upside in the great is worth a sniff for today. The Astros are facing Josiah Gray, who has some Velasquez-ish qualities. He does get strikeouts. He's got a 26% strikeout rate this year versus 25% last year. I think that's going to stick. I don't expect that to go away. But it's the non-strikeout plate appearances that bother you with Josiah Gray. His walk rate is 12%. He's letting up a 50% fly ball rate and a 43% hard hit rate. He had similar issues last year too, which is why his ERA was 5.48. And it's why he has some rough outings. He let up 4 runs to the Mets and the Marlins at home, let up a couple home runs to the Angels last time out. So yeah, he can have shutdown outings. He held the Giants and the Braves, 2 very good offenses, scoreless for a combined 11 innings, which is why this stack is volatile, but there is upside within it, especially when he's facing an offense as good as the Astros. So I don't mind stacking the Astros here, even if it is a high-risk situation. I think that they are worth that, given the upside presented in the profile that Gray has. One guy I do think worth discussing here is Michael Brantley. I have always been low on him, and if I'm stacking the Astros, typically I'm doing so just skipping over Brantley entirely. He just didn't have the upside that I wanted. But his ISO is 134, and in 2022, that's not nearly as bad as it was in 2021, et cetera, et cetera. The fly ball rate for Brantley against righties is 37%. So I'm not actively seeking him out, but I'm also not crossing him off. And, I still prefer Kyle Tucker, who is 35. Yordan Alvarez, obviously at 38. Both those guys, to me, are pretty undersalaried. I don't mind, the fill-in guys who get in there, guys like Chas McCormick and stuff like that. But I think if you're looking at value plays on this team outside of McCormick, I'm okay with going Brantley, and I prefer him much over Yuli Gurriel. If you're looking at the value plays, I think that Brantley's upside is better than Gurriel's. So changing my tune a bit on him, I'm still not, again, super itchy to get there. But if I've got to use him to make an Astro stack work with Scherzer, I'm okay with that. And that is a change from how I viewed him previously. Let's move now to things to watch. 3 more stacks I think are worth discussing for today. I'm not opposed to some Ranger stacks. They're facing Nick Pivetta. Pivetta's let up a 51% hard hit rate this year with a 40% fly ball rate. It's led to some really poor results. He has faced a tough schedule, and the Rangers are not tough, but and that's why they're lower on this list. But I would still be okay with some exposure here, getting guys like Corey Seager and stuff like that in there for this situation where the Rangers actually are in a good matchup. I think the Twins are pretty similar to the Rangers. They're facing Aaron Savali, and Savali's gotten more strikeouts recently, but still tons of fly balls, tons of hard contact allowed. The Twins offense right now is not, I wouldn't think, great. Doesn't feel great outside of Byron Buxton, which is why they're lower on this list. But some individuals here could be worth a look for some one-offs. So okay with the Rangers, okay with the Twins. Similar vibe on the Mets. Facing Marco Gonzalez. He's not getting a lot of strikeouts this year, letting up enough hard contact and fly balls. It's mostly Pete Alonso and then the lower-end lefty bangers they have out there. I think they work for one-offs. But I think these three, to me at least, pretty clearly below the other ones. If you got to go there for some value, totally okay with that. And I would be fine going there. But preference for me for the top three stacks for today. Let's go into the weekend here with some dinger calls for this Friday slate. The boring one is CJ Cron. Mentioned that Zach Greinke specifically struggles letting up hard contact to righties. Cron is a righty. He's at Coors Field. It's as boring as can be. CJ Cron, to me, the top dinger call for today. The fun one, we're going to do it. I'm going to go Michael Brantley. He only has 2 home runs so far this year. He probably had like 3 all of last year. That's an exaggeration, but either way, it's not a guy who goes deep very often. But I just think, again, this is a good situation for him. He's in a better park for offense for tonight. So although it doesn't make you feel great, I am okay with Michael Brantley. 8 home runs for Brantley last year. I don't want to shortchange him too much, but I would say if he's going to do it, tonight might be a good night. So the home run calls, CJ Cron, Michael Brantley. Brantley, definitely a different one than usual, but I think that for this setup, it works for sure. That is all that we have here for today on the solo shot. But as mentioned, a lot of good stuff here coming up on this Friday on the Number Fire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed. UFC, NASCAR, all in the same place, in the same feed, and the PGA Championship podcast coming up on Monday. Hit subscribe. If you like what you hear, leave us a rating and review. If you've got questions for me, I am on Twitter at Jim Sannes, JIMSANNES. You can also follow the FanDuel Podcast Network at FanDuel Podcasts. Big thank you to everyone for tuning in for today. Good luck to you with your MLB DFS lineups. We'll talk to you once again on Monday to get you set for another week of MLB DFS. This has been the solo shot right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network.